So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. I think we're up to like 470 something episodes these days. It's insane.
Oh,
talk about
we're on a roll.
Yeah, Jesus. What's going on, Oase?
How are you, man? How was your weekend?
Oh man, it has been a roller coaster ride this weekend. I'm not gonna lie. It has been an emotional roller coaster. But we are here, we are living, and we are making the best out of each and every day. Today, we're going to be talking about emotional branding. And what is that? It sounds like one of those industry buzzwords that people like to throw around. So I want to make sure that we distill this concept down into something that an entrepreneur, a business owner can understand, leverage, and execute on, so that we're not talking these pie in the sky branding talk while they're sitting there trying to like figure out what the hell are these two knuckleheads talking about. So before we get into that, guys, I just want to again remind you, if you are stuck when it comes to building your personal brand and you are lacking the clarity and focus you need to get to that next level, I highly recommend you guys check out the one-on-one brand assessment at Unique Designz, with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, where you and I will sit down for 45 minutes to an hour and really hash out where you are, where you want to go, and what is stopping you from achieving that success. So with all that said, let's get into today's topic of discussion. So always, can you share with everybody, in your words, if you were trying to tell my 4-year-old son, Dante, what emotional branding is, how would you describe it?
Man, I always struggle to explain to a 4-year-old, including my own nephew. So this is a great test. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Henry. Okay, so Dante, and I'll even tell, my nephew's 5. So Mikhail, Dante. So emotional branding is what we desire to achieve in our life. And when we make our decisions, let's say you make your decision to eat a popsicle today, or that you're always wanting to have an ice cream. Why is that? Yes, you like that flavor of sweets, but it makes you feel good. Makes you feel good, right? And you always want to be able to, or you're always desired. Your desire is to always to make yourself feel good first.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to go and if you fell doing something off of your scooter or off your tricycle because you were just racing down the sidewalk, you're probably going to avoid wanting to do that again, right? Because you fear scraping your knee.
Right.
So it's based in your emotional branding. Our decisions to do something or not do something is based in our ability to either survive or thrive. Our desire to either thrive or survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
what influences their decision making? Right? Would that be the $1 million question?
Absolutely. But again, it's deep seated into our, and I'm going to step out of that and say, look, it's beyond that. It's what we seek to accomplish and the feelings that are associated with that. Right. So a lot of the times I ask, how do you succeed in your role? How do you measure success in your role? What does that look like? And slowly but surely, they will start telling me about some of the feelings that are associated with what that success looks like.
Yeah.
Now at least I know what to attach to that message.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
let's do a real live example here. Okay. I recently had a brand assessment client fill out the application questionnaire, whatever you want to call it. And one of the questions is, what do you want to improve upon in your business? And the question and the answer that I got was generating revenue, more revenue, with less client interaction. Okay. So why would somebody want that for an improvement goal? Let's talk about that. All right. You're going to see where I take this in a second. But
I already know.
Yeah. So
well, okay, let's do it. Let's do the role play.
So why would somebody want that in their life?
So I can work less, make more, and then of course, spend more time with my loved ones and do whatever else I need to do. Maybe I want to start another business, right? But I want to be able to free up my mind and have that level of clarity to focus on something else aside from what I'm already embedded in doing.
Right. I think another issue may be nobody's getting any younger. Right. I'll give you a real life example. Remember, I was telling you about the emotional roller coaster of this weekend. So quick little story, and then we'll get back on track. But me and a bunch of buddies on Saturday went to a Rutgers football game, and we had a blast, eating and drinking, a typical tailgate scenario, right? And we had one of our friends who I've known for over a decade. Some of the other folks that were tailgating with us knew this kid for 30 something years. I mean, my son's godfather knew him since high school, right? Now go figure, we're in our 40s now, right? So long-term friends, right? Had a blast. The guy sat next to me the whole game, and we were just shooting the shit the whole time. What is that? What are you up to? This and that. I haven't seen him in a while. Yesterday, I come home from a dog walk with Fratello. My son, my wife opens up the door and says, "Come in, I got to tell you something." And you could see the concern on her face. And I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And she says, "Nick called you, and then you didn't answer because your phone was here, so he called me. Your friend didn't wake up last night." And I just stopped, and I was like, how could that be? That guy was the salt of the earth. Like, he was so nice, you thought he was full of shit when you first met him, because who could be that nice, right? But that's how he was every time you met him. Like, he was so consistent with his niceness, right? Salt of the earth, this guy. 43 years old, 7-year-old son at home. Goes to sleep, doesn't wake up. Was with him 12 hours earlier. The last text message he sent all of us in our group chat was 9:46 p.m. How? That could have been any single one of us.
Yeah.
And it happened to one of the nicest guys on the planet. So yesterday I was so numb to like life after I got that sad news. And I said, it just goes to show that it could be any day that you get called up, and you have no control over that. So you have to be present. You have to live in the moment, and you have to do what you truly love to do and what you want to do, because you don't know if tomorrow is going to be there. Yeah. You think this guy knew that he wasn't, going to wake up the next day? I mean, he was telling us all on Saturday, oh yeah, because we had Jets tickets and Yankees tickets to go to on Sunday, and nobody could go because we all had prior engagement. And he was like, oh, I got a baptism tomorrow. I wish I could come, this and that. This guy was just high on life. He had a beautiful family, and that's what happened. Like, we still can't get over it. It's like a nightmare. But I say this,
sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah, it's okay. But I say this because it's real. And it's something that, like, I think we take for granted too often, that we think tomorrow's promised. We think that we're going to live to 80, 90 years old and we're going to die in our sleep one day. That may not be the case. So are you preparing your business? Are you preparing your life for the unexpected? Right. And so maybe that's why this individual wants to work with less people and make more money, because to your point, always, he wants to spend it with his family, that time. I even posted something recently on my Instagram. I said, when you're 90 years old, you're not going to look back and say, oh man, do I miss the Friday consult calls at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on a summer day. No, you're not. You're going to say, you know what I missed? I missed watching my son's football game or softball game or my daughter's ballet, or those are the moments you're going to miss. So are you developing your business accordingly so that you can say to yourself, I have the time, I have the resources, I have the freedom to do all of this? I think that's what it comes down to. So that's emotional branding. Can you speak? Can your business's brand identity, brand messaging, brand positioning speak to the desires that your audience truly wants?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I hate to use that as an example, but it's real and it's true.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be emphasis on this. Otherwise, we take everything for granted.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
I think the more and more individual business owners that I speak to that have family, that are fortunate enough to have built a family, and that's something that they truly value in their life.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that they always gravitate back to. I want to be able to spend more time with my family. I want to be able to get away and still continue to make money in my business, but I want to be able to get away and spend more time to them. I was just on a call right before this podcast, and a long-term client of mine, he's now a grandfather, and it's exactly what he echoed.
Yeah.
He said this exact same thing. It was like, yeah, you don't see me going out and traveling for trade shows as often as I used to, because now I have 2 grandkids and I want to be able to spend more time with them.
Yeah. So how do you generate more sales with emotional branding? The answer is to speak to the emotions
Correct.
of the folks that you want to serve, because that's gonna make them engage.
Yeah.
I think we get caught up. We get caught up in the logistics of it all sometimes, and we lose track of what we're doing it for in the first place.
Yeah. Well, think about the visual design, right? I mean, look, we both started as visual designers, as I've mentioned it on several occasions in the past, but we've both started from the visual design side, and we still continue to that's continues to be our output. But what our focus and what our purpose in all of that is that to embed the emotions behind that brand into the minds of your audience, of your target clients. And so, what your customers think about your brand, think is and what type of feelings do you want it to evoke? That's what needs to be the focus.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what they'll buy. That's what will trigger their decision to make that purchase.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're constantly rolling in their heads. Is this person full of shit or not?
Yeah.
Let's just call a spade a spade. There's too much content out there these days. I was just having this conversation with a client on Friday, and I would challenge and I would argue that putting out more content is not the strategy for growth, or I would say awareness growth and or revenue growth because there's an abundance of content. Content is now a commodity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the quality,
Yeah.
the impact of.
Does it speak? Does it speak to your ideal customer? Does it speak in a way that's human?
Yep.
Right. And I'll tell you the reason why I bring that specific word up. So I was compelled to sign up. I'm going to be very guilty about this. Okay. And so I was compelled to sign up for an AI content generating tool just last week. I've been just testing it out for the last month,
Sure.
and I'm gonna end up doing a review on it.
Okay.
Because I'm highly likely I'm not gonna continue my subscription with them. As a matter of fact, there's a 7-day guarantee, 7-day money back guarantee, and I'm gonna cancel it before the 7 days. What it failed to do, it generated a lot of content, just like you're talking about. So it generated a lot of content, even with my own input. It failed to capture my voice. It failed to capture a lot of my signature phrases, even though I provided, a good, I would say 3 paragraphs of where I was headed, what direction I was thinking in terms of the content that I wanted to write. And this was going to be a long form content. And every single time I'm sitting there hitting submit and generating new content, it's just pulling up stuff that it seemed so generic. It seemed so impersonable. It seemed so disconnected. No one was going to, even if someone was going to take the time to read through that, it wasn't going to connect, and it wasn't going to convey the personality of my brand. And it was just going to create a disconnect between whoever I was wanting to speak with.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that because it's speaking their language. They're being your audience, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I was recently on a podcast interview and we were talking about scaling your personal brand and how I've been able to do that personally, but also help my clients do that. And I was speaking the language of working instead of one-to-one, one-to-many. And I told a case study about how we helped this person do that. He got out of the one-on-one consulting as his main revenue source, shifted it to a high ticket program. So that completely took his volume and down to 10, right? Compared to the 50 clients he was working with a year. Took it down to 10. He's making more money working with those 10 clients because he's raised his prices and restructured the service rendered and the value delivered, right? And focused more on his one-to-many program, which is a monthly recurring revenue program. And he is living his best life because he gets to show up every 2 weeks like the Messiah, take field questions, teach, influence, empower, doing what he does best. And now he's working with a handful of high ticket clients. So he's working with less people, making more money on that front. But then on the other side, he's working with hundreds of people. And that recurring revenue just keeps growing and growing and growing every month. So that's powerful. So he shows, so the amount of time that he's putting in to this work is very minimal. The point that I'm trying to make is this. I'm on this interview and I'm speaking this guy's language. After the interview, he said, "It sounds like you know what the hell you're doing. It sounds like you know what you're talking about." And he was like, "Here's my situation. Maybe there's a way that you can help me." Had I not told that story and used that language, it wouldn't have resonated with that guy, right? It wouldn't have resonated. Oh, okay. Thanks for the interview. It'll post. I'll tell you when it publishes. But I was talking his language because he was struggling with the same thing, right? He was struggling with the same thing. And it just so happened that the client that I was explaining, the case study that I was talking about, was in the same industry that this guy was. So there was a familiarity to it, which made him inquire about my services. So that's emotional branding. This guy's sitting here listening to me going, holy shit, this guy gets me.
So let's piece that together real quick, Henry. So you created familiarity. What do you think triggered in his mind once you created that familiarity? What kind of emotions would go through your mind if you get familiarized with someone's story?
Yeah, he went through it already. That's number one. So, and he's been able to come out on top. So I feel more comfortable with him. Right? I'll give you a quick example. Me and one of my partners are looking to hire somebody. Okay. And we have a very simple qualification question. Have you won a successful blank or not? If the answer is no, you're disqualified because this opportunity is too big to risk on somebody practicing their skill set. It's very, very simple. If you did win, how did you win? And that just makes the makes the selection process very simple for us. So we interviewed somebody today. They had 5 wins under their belt. Okay. Came in, price point was a little above average. That's okay though, right? We're willing to work with that, but we want to look at a couple other places before, a couple other providers before we make our decision, because we want something to compare it to. We want to get some ideas. Okay. So, but the point is have you succeeded in what I am trying to accomplish? If the answer is yes, you have a much higher qualification of closing that business than not. And that's why I was just telling my brand accelerator client before this call was I see a huge gap with your current branding and where I could take it. Yeah. And that gap is the lack of communication regarding the results you get for your clients. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let's go back. I want to point out something here. So let's go back to your hiring process and the question that you asked. Okay. And I want to know, okay, so what does that do if they tell you that I've won 5 times, I've won this case 5 times? What does that do to your level of confidence in them?
Well, it gives me more confidence in my decision-making process because their track record. I mean, they've done it, right? So I have confidence in that. They've achieved something that we desire, right?
There you go. What does it do to your level of anxiety in that hiring process?
It goes down.
What does it do to your peace of mind?
It keeps it calm. It keeps it in check, or it keeps it right. That's a great questioning. Always.
Thank you. So that's it. That's what it all needs to distill down to.
Yeah, man, we should just end the show right now.
See you later.
Goodbye. No, we're teasing.
So, by the way, Peter Butler, yes, it is Jarvis. I didn't want to say the name of it. Yeah, it is Jarvis, and so yeah, I'm testing that out. I'm going to do a video review of that as well. You know, it's got some good features, but it's not capturing. It's really not capturing my voice. It's not capturing how I want to be able to speak to my clients. I mean, I can sit here and I'll spend the time and the effort to write it out myself.
And that's the key. I like that you brought that up. spend the effort.
Yeah.
If you want to create more emotions through your branding, you have to give it that touch that nobody else can do but
Exactly.
you.
You
And
have your signature phrases. Think about it like this. When you're out there talking to an actual client, you have a very specific way that you speak to them that's effective. They get to know you.
Correct.
Right. So now if that goes into anything that is put out there digitally, whether it exists on your website, whether it's on your social media, whether it goes out in a form of an email, I mean, it needs to have that same level of communication that you have so effectively been able to execute with a client face to face.
Right. And that's something that we need to pay attention to. Yeah. So when you're getting feedback from a prospective client, right, and you feel like it's going down the wrong road, we got to bring it back. We got to bring it back to the end desired result that they're trying to accomplish. And then ask the question, how important is that to you? That's what we need to get down to. Forget about the price. Forget about the widgets. Forget about the nuts and bolts.
Exactly.
Is this problem big enough for you to, an issue enough for you to solve, or is it not?
Yeah. Get beyond features and specs. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine just wrote a book called How Good Humans Sell. Her name's Catherine Brown. And she talks about a couple of things. One is, of course, step beyond the features and specifications and stop becoming so fixated on that, thinking that you need to have, close to 100% product knowledge about what you're selling. And that's going to be effective in closing that sale. No, what's going to be effective in closing that sale is to be able to identify what their motivations are, what they value, and you bring what she calls an MVP, motivation, values, and powers list, to see exactly what it is that they desire to achieve. I keep saying this. I think that this is a very important question that all of us should be asking our clients. What is it that you desire to achieve and accomplish in your business?
And then work it backwards in your marketing.
Exactly. Correct.
Right? Here's a great question from Peter. Do you so customers are going to hire you if you have proof. Proof shows trust and success, which influences them picking you over others. Do you think that's all that really matters when it comes to branding? No.
It's a supplement.
I don't think it's all. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that's a supplement. That again, that is logic. That is the logical part of my brain that rationalizes my decision to actually go with you. I mean, of course, like I said, how do you establish trust? How do you establish confidence? How do you establish a peace of mind? That comes into that, right? You providing me proof, it comes into establishing trust and credibility and peace of mind. But there's other things. And it's one that Henry always talks about is if you can articulate your customers' problems better than they can, they will recognize you as the ideal solution.
Right.
I memorized that quote, by the way, because I love that quote. It's so accurate. It's good.
Well, here's another thing. You may have all the trust. You may have all the proof in the world, but your values don't align with my values.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not hiring you. It's going to be a disaster. Right? There's so many of those folks out there. And listen, let me refrain that last statement. What I would say is this. You're not meant to work with everybody. But it just goes back to the case that I always make when I was struggling, putting out all my best work on my website back. I'm going back 10 years now, right? All it was pretty work. There was no other way for you to go beyond that to understand whether or not you were going to be able to work with me on an intimate way, on a deep way, right? So it wasn't until my business started to really take off when I went out there and said, hey, universe, my name is Henry Kaminski, and this is my story. And that's when people started to resonate and say, not only does he do good work, but I like this guy's morals. I like this guy's value. I like this guy's style. I think this guy can help me. So that's where like the peanut butter and the jelly come together to make the great sandwich.
Yeah. There needs to be alignment there.
Yeah. So proof is great, but personality mixed with proof. So the P plus the P equals the V. the value, right. And that's where people are going to connect. We got some questions here, so let's just get through these and then we will wrap up. Big shout out to Praveen Reddy for joining us live today, and Peter Butler, always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Okay, so Praveen asks, I'm going to quit my job. I'm an ideas person. I have a lot of ideas, but after quitting my job, I can't survive more than 6 months. So shall I focus on big ideas or small to have my bills paid? It's a good question. My recommendation is don't quit anything until you got something else lined up.
Yeah.
And you might have to muscle through those months. Cause I remember I worked 3 years at my current job before I had Unique Designz for close to 3 years as a side hustle before I went solo and went Unique Designz full time. And those 3 years, I'll be honest with you, felt like 3 weeks, but at the time it felt long, right? Looking back.
You got to have a runway. Yeah, you definitely have to have a runway.
Got to have a runway. So highly recommend that. Okay. But to be branded correctly, your values, visions, and mission align, mostly values with your ideal customers. And the proof is the exclamation point for them picking you over everybody else. Yes. We just had this discussion when I was doing this brand strategy review with a brand accelerator client. One of the 2 clients that he wants to attract is almost a mirror to what his journey was 5 years ago. He's just now 5 years ahead of his ideal client. And that's done very intentionally, because that person is going to look up to my client and say, he's been there, he's done that, he's got the t-shirt, he can help me because I see me in him. That's powerful.
It is.
Yeah. So let's see here. We got Michelle in the house. What's going on, Michelle? She's telling Praveen to use your job to fund your big idea, prepare in advance. Yeah. So Praveen is saying that, well, his HR gave him 4 weeks, and that's 4 weeks notice. So, he'll have to figure it out. He'll have to figure it out. And here's the beauty of life. When these situations arise or show up in your life, you'd be surprised how resilient you become. I noticed that when my back has been against the wall, it's unbelievable how resilient I become. And I believe that everybody has that ability. You have to believe it. You have to believe it and know that there's nothing you can't accomplish.
It goes back to how we started this entire conversation, Henry. Go ahead and finish, and I'll.
No, I'm done. Shoot.
So, no, it goes back to how we started this conversation. And I said that it's all seated. Our decision-making is based in 2 innate abilities. One is to survive, and the other one is to thrive. And so when our backs are against the wall, it really, it's like being dropped into the wilderness without any food, without any resources. And sooner or later, that survival mode is going to kick in.
Yep.
And that's what's going to help us thrive.
Yep. And that's tying this all up in a bow as we start to wrap up and get out of here, is the stories that we shared today are emotional branding. Always shared stories about a software that he's using that he's not going to renew. I've shared with you a couple of stories. One that shows how life isn't guaranteed. One, and two, focusing in on speaking your client's language so that they can resonate with it and say, that sounds like me. So when you combine your proof plus your personality, people have something to grab onto emotionally. That's what drives connection. So that's something that we have to really embrace and really sharpen is the word when it comes to building our businesses. So Pete says here, so emotional branding is really in the writing your content, showing empathy, sympathy, highlighting the pains, problems, and showing how you're the best solution. That's it. It all goes back to this. And it was funny. I wanted to share this. Before we jet. Last Friday morning, I'm walking into my EMDR therapy session and I'm stuck in the lobby because the door's locked to get up to my therapist's office. So in the lobby, there is a like an old school phone booth. And in the phone booth, you could see people wrote like all these different quotes all on the wall. Like it's like graffiti kind of thing, but there's all these different quotes inside of this telephone booth. So I'm sitting there, and again, I don't believe in coincidences. Everything you write, everything you see, everything you hear, everything that comes in your world at that moment was meant to be there. I read the quote from Zig, and it's, when you help other people get what they want, you will get what you want. Or I forget what that is. You know how it goes. Something along those lines. When you've helped enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And I walked away that day going, that's your mantra. That's your mantra. That's why you get up every day and do these live streams. That's why you're so consistent with anything that you do, right? I passed 101 days yesterday with my Duolingo, my Italian class. 101 days I've been doing it consecutively.
Wow.
Because I'm dedicated. I told myself I'm not stopping until I'm on that plane to Italy next May. That's what I'm talking about. But the point that I'm trying to make is you're doing it because you're trying to get somebody else the results. If you can just shift your mindset instead of what can this client do for me if they hire me, it's how can I help that client get what they want?
Yeah. Complete mindset shift.
That is a 2-degree shift, guys, that I can't take credit for it. It's Zig Ziglar's quote. But if we just applied it and kept it top of mind, maybe you write it on your desk. Maybe you put it, maybe you tattoo it on your fucking arm. I don't know. But when you can really live by that quote, your business is going to explode. I'm telling you. People are going to know that you're serious. People are going to know that you're real. People are going to know that you care. And people are going to know that you're going to go to bat for them. That's powerful. So I got to jump here. My little guy over, not Dante, my other little guy, Fratello, is calling my name here. He wants to play some fetch. So we got to get some fetch in before I go pick up my little guy. Story of my life. I got 2 ankle biters, one pulling one leg one way and one pulling me the other way. But I hope you guys got some some value out of today's conversation. And again, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, please do drop a review. Let us know your biggest takeaway. If you're watching this live stream, make sure you drop a review, drop some comments, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And what am I missing? I think that's it. Oh yeah, and if you want to catch us live, this podcast live, and participate with us live, come join us every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern. All you have to do is sign up for my master class to get on my list, and you'll get notified when the upcoming podcast through email. So have an amazing day, guys, and we will catch you on the next one real soon. Take care.
That's